You're listening to the Wrestling Philosophy Show, where we talk wrestling perspectives and beliefs. Check us out on social media, including video shows on YouTube and audio on podcast platforms. So glad I crossed paths with Jake Elkins. He has a very unique perspective on all angles of wrestling, whether it's nutrition, hydration, MMA, training, whatever it may be. Go check his stuff out on Ironclad Wrestling. I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I did recording it. What's going on, Jake? How you doing today?
What's up, man? How's it going, bro?
Good. Where were you joining at today?
So I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, big city.
Big city, big lights, right?
Deep South, dude. Yeah. Football country.
Yeah. In the mix of that right now. So I guess off the rip, man, what's the origin of Ironclad Wrestling?
Man, so I grew up here in Alabama, right? There's not deep wrestling culture. And I've got two younger brothers, we're all 3 years apart. And so we grew up like, I mean, I could tell some war stories. I think everybody says this, but like, dude, I couldn't fathom that anybody possibly worked harder. Like I was like literally killing myself because I loved wrestling, and I would still show up and get, spanked and at nationals and stuff, and I couldn't figure out what the deal was. And I slowly just, realized like, oh, there's a better way. Like it's not work harder isn't always the answer. There's this technique thing matters. So went to college, finished, came back. My brother got into the MMA scene and deep into jiu-jitsu stuff. I was running a club. I started the club myself. And we were, just trying to like come back and make an impact and like teach this like better way of wrestling, right? And which kind of got me like sucked in the rabbit hole. Like that's where I live now, is like, what is the best way, right?
Right.
We ultimately, like, he finished up his MMA career. He had like some concussion syndrome stuff that kind of was like, it's like, I need to stop, fighting. And so all three of us are together. We've got some wrestling parents who really helped us out and made some cool things possible. So we have like a massive facility in downtown Birmingham as of like the quarantine starting, literally. So
oh wow,
we have a gym, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, fitness stuff, whatever. But we're downtown training, man, and
wow.
Trying to like spread the good news of wrestling, right? Spread the gospel, I guess. So
right.
That's kind of where we are. What's up now?
Nice. So who else coaches there with you, and kind of what is your role and what's the other guys' roles?
So I'm head coach. I guess I own the place and everything else. Mm-hmm. I've got my youngest brother, Marcus, is with us, an assistant coach, Ricky Korn, who helps as well. And then my other brother, Matt, I call him TB. Matt is, he kind of runs our jiu-jitsu and kickboxing program. He's like around the wrestling, he grew up wrestling, right? But he's not, it's like not what he's passionate about, but he's there too. So there's really the four of us. And then we have some helping dads and stuff that'll like, they'll help fill in and stuff. Some other guys who were state champs back in the day. And just, dude, it's awesome, man. Like every wrestling program, right? It's like a great community of people. And right. Dude, I couldn't ask for something else.
Nice. So you wrestled at Newberry, right? D2. Did you know there you wanted to get into coaching, or I guess when was that spark?
Yeah, so I went to college and was going to be an engineer. I said I wasn't going to Newberry, and then I like left the office talking money, and I was like, man, this place ain't so bad, like maybe I could come here, like. And so I showed up. I remember sitting in my academic advisor's office, and she's like, so what do you want to major in? And I was like, engineering. And she said, we don't offer that here. And I was like, when you say you don't offer that, like, what do you mean? And she's like, we literally don't have an engineering program. And I was like, I thought every school did, so I was like, okay, look, I really came here to wrestle. Like, that's why I'm here. Like, let me swear with you, And she was the chair of the education department. And so she slowly got me into education. And then, which is what I went to school for that, for it was like phys ed, sports management. And so at the end of like college, I started having this like existential crisis, like in my last year of like, dude, I can't be trapped in a school. Like, I'll lose my mind. I'm just not hardwired this way. And so I knew in that somewhere, probably my freshman or sophomore year of college, that I wanted to coach for sure. but I didn't know, and I didn't even know in what capacity, right? But when I realized that, I was like, dude, I can't go to school and do this. So I was shadowing teachers and doing the student teaching thing, and I'm like,
Not
I can't do it, you know. So that led to club stuff, and now we do a bunch of online training and stuff, and like helping other high school coaches kind of with their programs. And so it's just been a crazy journey. I tell everybody, like, it beats having a real job, and
Right.
two, like, I was just too stubborn to grow up. So like I spent all this time slumming it and kind of, solve some problems, I guess, in there. So
Nice.
it's fun, man. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's not work. It's not a job if you enjoy it, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's
That's
for
the
sure.
theory behind it, at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, that's what I keep telling myself.
Life's too short, man. Right? Life's too short.
Yeah.
Well, you got your hands in a few different things, right? Do some nutrition and what else? I guess talk what else you got.
Yeah. So we have the gym, and so that keeps me between wrestling and jiu-jitsu. At the gym, I stay really active. I don't really do the kickboxing thing as much. I
Okay.
can care less, really. But two, we have the other major things are nutrition stuff with My Vitality. It's awesome. And then we have what I call Ironclad methods, which is basically it's like wrestling philosophy, like programming,
Okay.
training, technique, all that kind of stuff. And so we've kind of built a platform for that, and that like onboards people. Man, I love it. They're both, I think, kind of the direction that things have got to go. And I look at like football culture, the way we use some of these other mainstream sports, the way we view those and coach them. If you take that, and as a metaphor or analogy, and you try to apply the same principles to wrestling, like, we're just so primitive, we're so far behind. And so my burning desire for wrestling to innovate and get better has kind of led to like my friends who are smarter than me going, well, dude, let's solve these problems, And
Right.
so I'm just in the middle of them, like.
Yeah.
I'm like the guy I'm the I always say I'm the cook, right? I'm like the chef that's running around acting crazy, but I can't manage the kitchen.
Right.
Like,
Nice.
don't let me run the restaurant. Just let me cook the food,
Right. No, that's a good analogy. And I think we kind of talked a little off air on this too, is the whole wrestling, RTCs and the MMA gyms. I guess first off, is it mostly wrestling at your place? Or is it kind of mixable?
It's like, I mean, so we just literally started the kind of put all of them together a couple, 2 months ago, I guess now. So
okay, cool.
I'm the idiot that decided to open a gym in the middle of quarantine.
Hey, that's when it happens though. But going back to your chef, and that's kind of my analogy too on this whole MMA / wrestling, right? We got to get eyes on the sport, right? If you go into a new town, right? When you go up to Virginia Beach, where do you eat at? Where do you go eat? Do you have a set place, or do you kind of just go wherever?
Dude, yeah. So now I have a favorite place there, but like
okay,
usually, dude, I mean, if you're out with a bunch of wrestlers, like, they're gonna wind up at like a Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, I don't care where you are,
right.
You wind up at some chicken wing joint or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. The idea of what you're saying.
So right, wrestling's not always the favorite menu, right? So we got to kind of attach ourselves to what kind of the favorite cuisine or restaurant is out there. And right now, MMA and wrestling go hand in hand, right? And we got we have to have an appetite for it, right? Got to get eyeballs on the sport, right?
100%.
And the hurdles are right, financials, right? Starting a gym, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. I really think RTCs and these MMA gyms, I think they have a lot to offer. Not just wrestling, and but the whole performance piece, like you're talking about, nutrition and the platforms and things like that. But
100%. No, I think that's it. And that's one, like, jiu-jitsu gyms have solved this puzzle for forever, right? I mean, there's a guy or two or five in every town that do jiu-jitsu and have a prominent, affluent school that's doing well. You know what I mean? And they've been doing it for 30 years or whatever, right? Like this like karate model. And now with MMA, it's got a new frontier where we're mixing all these things together. And I just think that, like, as wrestlers, we all pride ourselves on this old school whatever thing, we kind of we've got to grow into that. We partnered with a good buddy of mine, Brandon McCatherine, who's a 10th Planet guy, like high up.
Okay, nice.
And so we, dude, yeah, I love that stuff, man. Like it's funny, as you just have to have a big open mind to it. But that's the frontier. I 100% believe that's the frontier. And man, I think wrestling coaches could get a lot out of like practicing jiu-jitsu. Everybody kind of has these preconceived ideas, like, oh, it'll you on your back, or it's karate. I'll smash jiu-jitsu, dude, but like
No.
it's been like maybe the best thing in my journey in the last few years to be a student again and have to sit down in a class and pay attention.
Right.
Because you start yelling at little kids to be like, hey, sit still, pay attention, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I catch myself at practice being like looking off in the distance.
Right.
Right. Hey, what did he just show? Like, what are we working on again? You know, so
right. We just had I just had Clip Musser on. He talked about how, you know, his MMA journey kind of helped him as a coach because he had to learn to be the student again.
Yes, dude, so powerful.
Yeah. But I think that MMA, man, you know, I think 3 factors to get, you know, we talk about, dual meets will bring wrestling back. I don't think that's the case. I think it's MMA, it's girls wrestling. And I think, you know, some people might disagree. I think some form of gambling, you know, why do people watch March Madness? Right? They bet on the brackets.
No, there's got to be some fandom to it. You know, you got to create something for the fans out of that. And I 100% agree.
The casual fans, I think those are the three pillars. But yeah, it's it was cool hearing Musser talk about his path. You know, he's a bad dude, and you know he 100%. He talked about his path. I mean, I could talk to him for days. But so we're what, Papa Bear, right? Is that your name? Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from?
So that came from college. So I got engaged. I was engaged in college, and we found out I was already like the old man on the team. Like I was like the old soul, you know. Like I mean, I would be out with the dudes, but I wasn't acting the fool or nothing, you know. And like, dude, you're like the dad of the group, you know. And I was engaged. Then we found out we were expecting, right? So we got married, and so now I am actually a dad on the team. And then like my little brother was there. I always, I guess, had this like father role. So all my boys started calling me Papa Bear, and it was kind of stuck, I guess. Like, now my kids heckle me, the kids of the club, or Papa Bear, what's up? You know,
so it's stuck.
It won't go away. Like I'm like, can I just be Jake? But like, no, it won't go away. So
stuck, man. No, that's cool. That's cool. I know you're passionate about the whole hydration process. I guess for those that don't know, you know, I guess let's hear your take on that.
Dude, so man, it is broken science. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so it started in like 2006, right? Okay, I was a junior in high school when they implemented this thing. It was like a beta year, and the next year when they really enforced it.
Right, because college started, you know, early 2000 and kind of trickled down to high schools, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's only 20 years old. You know, not even 20 years old right now.
Exactly. Right. So, science and technology are innovating quickly, right? And I think it was a great first step. The idea of what they want to do is awesome, but if you really dig into the science, it doesn't do what we're saying that it does, right? So, a refractometer is weighing the specific gravity of your urine. The best way, I've tested. I have one. I've tested on this thing 1,000 times. It's sort of like looking at the tread on your tires to determine if your car is high mileage, like. That like they could be associated, like that could be true, but it's not necessarily true, right?
Okay.
The amount of urine or the amount of water in your urine is really like, I mean, you can do a whole bunch of things to change that. Maybe you just change the tires. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, right?
Right.
Maybe you have new tires on things. So there's not one doesn't equal the other. Like they could be related, but they're not directly related.
Gotcha.
Because there's so many ways to influence it. So A is the hydration part of it. The second is the Tanita scale they're using is like 5 to 7% margin of error, you know, which is like, I mean, a crazy high amount when you're talking about this thing. And so we use an InBody 570, which is, you know, like it's 10 times as expensive. Not that price determines how good it is, right? But it's like 99.5% accurate, where the other is 95%. And so
InBody 570. Is that
so instead of having 2 points of contact or 4 if you have like the nicest version of Tanita, like it has 6, or I guess it's actually 8 if you count the other thumbs or whatever. But like you just get a better measurement is the answer, and it gives you a bunch more information than just what exists there, right?
Okay.
And so even so like we're using like the most primitive version of this. Like there's the scale that we weigh in on like all the time, check your weight at practice. And then there's like the scale that they're using now. Well, like the one that we've been experimenting with is like a Ferrari related to it. You know what I mean?
Okay. So that's what the InBody 570 is, a scale you step on?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's attached anywhere else, or
it's a scale, but you're holding handle leads. or whatever, and it sends a wavelength through you. And so we've been like partnering with InBody and trying to work with them on a bunch of the stuff too. Basically, you have to. I mean, there's some hurdles to being able to use that device, and like getting them officially approved and stuff like that. But that's definitely the future, right? So A is like using a more accurate test for the thing. You know what I'm saying? You can't be using body calipers and pinching somebody to determine the body fat.
I can't, I was telling you, I wrestle, I can't, but, same thing. They do this, subscap, all this stuff. Well, what if you got a big legs and, all that stuff. And I remember some of my teammates, they're just short, squatty guys, and they weren't. So we got the Bod Pod testing, that was go underwater. You got to blow all your air out, right? It's water displacement. And I think that's a little more accurate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a much better way to do this, to do the same thing. Right. So
I remember that like yesterday. I was like, you didn't blow all your air out. I'm like, I can't do anymore.
We did one, and you sat in, it was like Bod Pod, but you like just sat in like an egg. So you weren't underwater, but you're just sitting in the thing. And you had to just sit there and like, it was, I was like, dude, what are we doing?
Right.
Put you in this thing and shut it on you. You're like, So that like the A is the accuracy of the test.
Okay.
Right. But really one of the big things, I call it kind of like a cliche version of heaven, right? We're not like educating these kids on what to do that. They're just kind of like, hey, like so the idea is that they're going to be healthier and less stressed out or whatever. They're going to get certified for this weight class. Well, we're not doing anything to lead them up to that, right?
Right.
And that's what My Vitality does, provides like nutrition consulting and all this stuff in addition to testing, because like all they're doing is cutting weight 6 months out and trying to pass this test that they don't know if they're going to pass or not, because they don't know how to pass it really.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Where are the field goals? What do they got? They don't. There's guessing.
Yeah, like I call it the cliche version of heaven, like where you die, you show up at the pearly gates, and St. Peter's like, hey, you made it or you didn't, and you disappeared to the clouds.
That's a good point, right?
And so anyways, but like there's got to be education on the front end of that, because right now, we kind of say, oh, we're teaching healthy lifestyles and all this stuff, but if we're not actually teaching them, they're going to invent ways to do the stuff, right? Which has been the problem forever, is you have these kids who have all the motivation in the world, but no knowledge to meet it with. And so that's what leads to this gap in what they're doing, and doing crazy unhealthy things like I know you did, like I did.
Right, just like, stupid stuff, that you shouldn't be doing. You don't want kids doing that as a coach, right?
And then even then, we kind of think of like, if you make weight, then we think that that's success. We're not with the InBody 570. Like you can measure someone like the change in their body. You know what I mean? Like, so, we've got kids getting ready for Super 32, which is this weekend, and we've been testing them all along the way. And so, if they spend 6 months lifting weights and getting stronger, whatever else, only to lose that muscle mass on the way to the scale, like it was all for nothing. They should have just been training their technique the entire time. Why do they pick up a single weight? You know what I mean? And so we kind of associate making weight with success, or if you make weight and win, then you did it right. If you make weight and lose, then you did it wrong. And there's a variable in the middle. That doesn't, whether you win or lose is completely irrelevant, or even whether you made weight or not. Like we should be looking at your body composition when you make weight and knowing what your performance looks like. You could lose because you made a bad decision, or you got bad technique, or the other kid's just better. But like there's a physical component that's isolated that we should be measuring along the way. And so you should be testing 2 or 3 times minimum in a single season to kind of track your progress, and then the inevitable process or progression of that is, once you do that, that's just not progression, but the evolution of that is going to be, once you're testing a few times, then you start going, okay, well, like a strength conditioning coach, how can I change my programming at wrestling practice so that we're not like losing muscle mass, so that we are getting stronger and we're losing body fat at the same time. And so that's kind of where we are with Ironclad methods. Like I'm looking at like, we're always trying to innovate our technique, but what training protocols can we put in for the physical aspect, so that I know that that we're meeting the needs of wrestling, right? Like you can go run a marathon, but like a wrestler shouldn't look like a marathon runner, there's no pride in, I hear coaches talk about killing their athletes all the time. And I'm like, dude, just because you can get your athletes tired does not make you
doesn't equate to success, right? There's no
dude, in fact, that's the problem, right? We're
Right.
like killing all these athletes,
Mhm.
and they're so damn, it's hard. They're tired. Whatever, we're beating them down, and they're like, dude, I don't want to do this, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out with my girlfriend instead.
Yeah, it's
Like
like, no thanks. No
it's
thanks.
it's not a hard decision, man. Like
Right.
we got to. So you
Yeah, you
got
gotta
to
be
make it
wired a certain
fun.
way, and there's not many people wired that way, right?
That's right, dude. Like not everybody's commentary brands, like you
Right,
just
right.
gotta, I mean, and as crazy as I was back then, I'm still like, dude, I would not have done that again. Like you look back at it, like
Yeah.
I did it once, I'm not
Yeah,
going through it twice. Like,
right.
or
That's
how did I let y'all convince me to do this?
yeah. Oh, yeah, I was pretty stupid and, just, I guess, dumb enough, you gotta.
That's right, dude. Yeah, you didn't know anything about winning because I was
Yeah.
convinced that if I got my hand raised, that
That was the
everything
measuring stick.
was like I don't know, like
Right. No, I think technology's come up. I mean, like I said, but that was 15, 20 years ago. Shoot, we were watching, listening to CDs and, DVDs, you know what I mean? So technology, in the real world, it's come along. I'm sure we can figure this.
this came out like before iPhones were a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. The hell, man. So I think, I hope, the powers that be in the, are reassessing this, I guess, instead of saying, okay, this is a model, you know what I mean? So, but,
yeah. My theory on this is that is that it really has to start with. So I think that wrestling coaches are the key holders, right?
Mhm.
Like because before it becomes policy or standardized at the top, like that. When I'm talking to coaches now, they all like see the need for things like either methods or for my vitality, which I mean, we create those things as a solution in my own program, right? And now we're
Right.
like, okay, let's do this everywhere. And so they see the need for it, but they're kind of waiting on it to get standardized. When really, I think what it's going to take first is coaches going, hey, this is what I want for my athletes, and then once they, the powers that be kind of see, oh, this is taking root and having a positive impact, then they'll standardize it everywhere else. But I think it's anything that kind of comes big starts to happen like in a small segment of the population before it goes everywhere, right? So
Right.
I think that it's up to coaches. I mean, really morally and ethically, like we see what's going on, right? I mean, parents aren't behind the scenes all the time. They're not in the wrestling room or under the bleachers when they see these kids breaking and having all these
Coaches
problems.
are day in, day out, or they're
Yeah,
seeing.
you're on the front lines with them. You're in the trenches and you're their counselor and all this stuff. So you like as you're talking about this, parents are like, my son's not doing that crazy stuff, and I went up and talked at Christian Brothers in Memphis. They've got an awesome program in Memphis, Tennessee. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but we went and spoke to them. Yeah, they're awesome, man. Derek up there is the man. Anyways, we talked to them, and I felt myself like get emotional for a second when I was talking. I was talking to the kids and the parents, and I was like, "Parents, you don't think your kid's doing this?" And I was like, "You have no idea. Like, you have no idea what like the stupid stuff. Like, you'd be so mad if you knew because of the pressure that you've put on them or the pressure they put on themselves." And it's just quite a thing, man. It's again, I'm passionate about it, right? But I just think that. Yeah, they're kids, dude. They're gonna do dumb stuff. Like
we've been there, right? The kids ain't changing. They're just find a path of least resistance sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, man.
Do you think? I mean, with the InBody 570, do you think along with that, we could simple it down and do mat side weigh-ins at certain levels, or I mean, do you think that would help? Or I mean, that's. Go ahead.
The barrier to I like the idea of mat side weigh-ins. Does a lot of things well. I think what the problem you're going to have always is people are going to. So if you do mat side weigh-ins, it's some people are going to go, no, I'm not doing it. Like okay, that's it. I'm not going to cut weight. But every time we change the policy, there's people who are competitive. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Trying to gain that edge.
We're always going to want competitive edge. So I think if like the real solution, the real problem is that people don't know what they're doing. When they make weight, they don't know that they're dehydrated, right? So if you're dehydrated, here's a gold nugget for everybody. They did a study of wrestlers at like the 2014 Spanish Grand Prix, okay, in Europe, and it was in Spain. It wasn't. They had this group of like European wrestlers they were following and tracking, but it was at the Spanish Grand Prix when they did the thing. And so sorry, getting into my geography here.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
I'll try. It's irrelevant. They did a test on these wrestlers, okay, and they found if they were below a certain threshold of total body water, that they were 20% slower, weaker, and less explosive. Okay,
Wow.
And so you hear the number 20%, like, what does that mean? Okay, well, take a kid, let's take a high school kid who um, who spends all summer lifting weights
Mm-hmm.
and goes from benching 160 to 200 pounds, and not that bench is the best measurement of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of discussion,
Right.
because yeah, anyway, it's realistic. So, I mean, dude, you had 40 pounds of your bench press? That's insane, bro.
Yeah.
Way to go. Okay, like people, some high school kid would be like geeked.
Yeah.
And,
Let me know what I got to do that. Right.
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, tell me what I need to do to add 40 pounds to my lift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but if they show up to wrestle and they're dehydrated, they've vacuumed off all of that progress because there's 20%. The difference in 160 and 200 is 20%. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you siphon off 20%, like that's what's going to happen. And so now it's like they spent 6 months lifting weights, and because they vacuumed off the water to get on the scale and have this competitive edge, they're not the same.
Right.
And so we had, I remember in high school or in college, the other things, it affects type 2 muscle fibers significantly more than type 1. Like these dudes who are fast twitch and explosive, like it affects them worse, And so there's a guy, Keno Griffin, Division 2 dude. He man, he's a G, bro. He's a national champ. He beat the who's who of wrestling. He's an awesome dude, man. So shout out to Keno wherever you are, bro. But when I was a freshman, we were 3-3 in like wrestle offs. We're the same weight class.
Okay.
And in practice, like, dude, he would just drum me. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was putting it on me so bad. But he'd be a lot heavier, right? And he was cutting this weight to like make weight. We get to tournament and wrestling like an open against each other, and like I would win or something,
Right.
Or
right.
he would do so well, and I was like, dude, he's human,
Yeah.
he's human. And we always kind of attributed, like, I remember wrongfully, like ignorantly, literally, like some of the coaching staff or even other athletes. There were times that I thought it, like him and some other guys who were like explosive, dynamic athletes. I saw what they like in practice.
Mm-hmm.
when they were cutting weight and dehydrated. I thought they were just mentally weak because I was like, dude, I'm cutting weight too. Like, what
and
are you talking about?
There's that 20%, right? They're just
right,
slower, weaker.
And you're right, and even more so, like I'm not explosive or dynamic or fast twitching anything.
She's just right here. Right?
Yeah, and so like it was affecting me, but like maybe it affects me 5%, 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were getting the maximum effect. So I'm like, dude, you just got to be tougher. And like scientifically, like, no, it's affecting them worse because they have these fast twitch explosive muscles that we all say we want in wrestling. And so the bottom line is you can't be dehydrated. And I think so I told that whole story to say, if athletes and coaches understand what's actually going on, it's kind of like the current, right? If they understand that there's an undertow below the surface, there's not 20-foot waves, but what's underneath the surface will kill you.
Right.
Well, if they understand that, then they'll want to do it right because they're motivated. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna, like, everybody's motivated to wrestle, but they just don't know that they're failing. They don't know that there's stuff slipping through the cracks.
Right.
So I really think education, no matter if weigh-ins are 24 hours out or 4 hours out, 2 hours out, or mat side, you have to have the education so that people want to do it right on the way there because they see the benefit to them, because that's what's going to motivate them is the competitive edge. Right. If I think I'm not going to cut weight or dehydrate or whatever, and I'm going to diet down and it's going to give me a real edge that I can quantify, then I'll do it that way. Otherwise, like, yeah, dude, I think I'd rather just eat garbage and, I'll suck the weight off like I have for forever, which we all did. So it really is an education piece. But I mean, there's a case to be made for shifting around time of weigh-ins and stuff, but it's all information based in my opinion. Like,
right. No, there's the data's out there, like you said, and the technology's, here now. So, I mean, it's be interesting to see where it's headed, but no, glad you shared that InBody 570. That's something I've never heard. I've been involved in the sport and just kind of assumed, okay, this is the way it is. But now you got me thinking, okay, what's going on out there?
The real barrier is like, is that they're so expensive. I mean, they're crazy expensive. You're looking at over $10,000 for a scale,
Okay.
But that's kind of where, like, what we were doing is like basically Ubering these things out, Airbnb, these scales.
Okay.
So we own a few of them. So it's like,
so it only take a handful to go around the state or whatever,
yeah,
for a whole state.
You don't need a handful, and you can make this thing happen.
And they're charging right now for these hydration tests as it is, right?
Dude,
Would
Don't
you
get
say
me
they're
started. Yeah, dude. It's like,
$30,
bro,
right?
it's
$30
just
for you
crazy.
guys.
In Alabama right now, I don't know. Every state's a little different. In Alabama, it's $30 to certify. It used to be 20. It was $30 this year. And so my Vitality's trying to take over that contract. I don't know if that'll happen, but I'm working hard on it, right?
Wow.
Because
well, $30 a pop, you know,
you can pay
InBody 570 would pay
bro.
for itself and then some. Yeah.
It's such a mess, man. And now with technology, I mean, there's no reason, like, people can cheat on the data entry stuff or whatever, right? Like it documents every part of the thing. You know, there's ways to have it upload immediately into like an app or into software, so that there's no human to change and tweak the, you know.
What do you guys use track wrestling in Alabama, or what do you guys use for the?
Yeah.
Okay,
They use track wrestling for everything, and so it's like
but like you're the saying though, the variance, and you know, guy changes the subscat pinch, and there's already a variance to begin with, so I mean that variance is crazy. So, but yeah,
dude, we were in high school. I mean, in college, Valak, man, he's a savage. He was a heck of a coach. He put together a bunch of diesel recruits, but we we did the scat thing. He'd be pinched. I'm like, that's my bicep. You know, like, you know, they're like, yep, you got 22% body fat. I was like, bro, I'm not making 184 again. Like, there's no way.
No way. No, don't try to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I already see what's going on here. You know, they're like, no, that's a good pinch right there. You know.
So you went from 184 then to heavyweight, huh? Talk about that kind of journey, I guess.
Oh, dude. Yeah. It went from, so when I was a sophomore, I lost from 225 down to 184.
Okay.
And I would, like, my routine was to wake up day of 10 pounds over, cut the weight off, and wrestle at 5. You know, like, that was every day.
What'd you lose in practice normally? I guess what was your
7.
normal?
7. I was pretty standard, like 7 pounds at practice.
I wish I could. I was a little guy, so I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I was good to get like 4. You know, I'm like, oh, that was a good one. Yeah.
Well, it's like a percentage. You know, you start thinking about like percentage of body weight stuff,
right.
But yeah, 100%. Like, thank God that I have like overactive sweat glands, you know, or whatever. Like, I sweat like a horse.
Right.
And so I was cutting a truckload of weight to make weight as a freshman, sophomore, and then I actually redshirted. I medical redshirted that year, and so I had like a whole. I was starting as a sophomore, medical redshirted in the middle of the season, and so I had, like, you know, basically a year to put size on immediately. And so we had, like, at 84, like, our guy took 30, and we had national champs at 97 at heavyweight, Keno Griffin and Cy Wainwright. And then the next year, Cy graduated, and then Bryant and Keno were back, and they were going to bump up. So basically, they were like, "Hey, we don't have a heavyweight. Like, step in the lineup." You know, that was our group of 4. It was nasty, bro. But we and so I made the transition. I was like, "Hey, I'll go up or whatever, and just not cut weight. Like, I'm cool with that." And so yeah, dude. I mean, that started a different journey where I was trying to just, like, get bigger and stronger and lift all the time, and had some really cool dudes. Zach Anderson was one of my teammates. He was like, he's top 10 in the CrossFit Games.
Oh, wow.
So he was
really?
yeah, he was the next year he moved in and was a training partner of mine. And so we were lifting weights all the time together, and he was showing me the way of the world, you know.
Nice. That's cool.
It was a group of killers, man. It was a lot of fun though. That was definitely a long-term transition. I was struggling with this idea of, like, do you just weigh more, you know, and be, like, fat and sloppy, or do you have to be functional, or does it matter if you weigh too much, or can you weigh 225 and be successful? And I was just struggling with all these, like, philosophical ideas.
You're still a kid too, right? You're trying to, like, okay, you know.
I'm 20 years old, you know, like, and I'm like, dude, what's the most important thing? And nobody had the answers, you know. Like, that was probably early in my quest for, like, the best way. Like, I was like, I don't know what is best, you know. Do I need to weigh enough, or do I not? So I became like a guinea pig for my own ideas.
No, that's cool. It's probably, you know, learned a lot, and, you know, now you can implement that at Ironclad. That's pretty cool. You know, you touched on the injury. You know, that's something else, you know, with the hydration too. I mean, I don't know the facts and figures, but I'm sure dehydration has to account for some injuries. You know, just, you know, not reacting the right way or whatever it may be. Right.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and a bunch of, so yes, that's very true. Man, it's a huge thing with, I mean, you just get banged up, you know, everybody's cutting weight. Everybody, empirically, like the empirical evidence, if you've ever cut weight, man, like, you take all this water out of your body, like you're softer, it's not soft when you land. Like your joints are sharp, your hip bones are sticking out, like
Right.
you just get banged up. And
My
then,
my youth coach put it this way, he put it simply about, being hydrated. And this is, in the 80s. He's like, your body's whatever percent, water,
yeah,
right? He's like, you take that sponge, right? Weigh it, right? You're using a sponge. You need to have it wet. You don't use a dry sponge. He's like,
that's right.
now you dry it out and you weigh it. It's lighter, but it doesn't do any good, right? And then
That's
your body's a
100%
sponge,
right.
I mean and I was, little. I'm like, man, I guess he's right. Our body, if it's made 80% of water, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's a sponge, right? You can't use a dry sponge, right? I mean, I guess you can.
No, dude, that's legit. I love that. I'll steal that, man. That's freaking, that's serious.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that's really, dude. I mean, another thing. So my brother, I told you, he's 3 years younger than me, and he went to Newberry with me and then transferred out. He's like, man, this is what I want to do. Cody Garbrandt was one of our teammates.
Okay, my brother used to roll with Cody and my youngest brother. Hey, Cody.
Yeah, he's a Ohio boy.
Yeah, they butted heads, and my brother knocked his tooth out, and then my other brother, second Otis, he's his wife's from Cody's hometown, so they know it. It's a small town thing, so we're big Cody Garbrandt fans for sure.
That's awesome, man. He's an awesome dude, bro. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
He so him and my middle brother, we're talking about it, and Cody early on was like, bro, you can't make any money wrestling. Like, he's like, I ain't staying here to do this. Like, I'm trying to go make money, And
nice.
So
yeah,
which I was like, wait a minute, is he dumber than me or smarter than me? So it worked out. Good. Shout out to No Love, dude. He's the man.
Yeah,
but,
he is.
So my brother Matt, that was he was like, dude, I'm going home to do that too. So he went home and started training, but he was cutting a truckload of weight. So he basically quit wrestling because he didn't like cutting weight. He was wrestling at 165, and he was like, man, I ain't doing this. Like, screw this, whatever. Well, he wound up fighting professionally at 155. So I was like, bro, you quit. You gave up a full ride scholarship for to
cut 10 more pounds.
Yeah, but he and so in that he and I talked a bunch about it. So he had like pretty severe concussion syndrome stuff, and he really believes in. And now he's like been seeing a bunch of doctors about it, and they were kind of confirming that. But like basically, he cut. There's this idea that he cut too much weight, and
well, that's why UFC does a 24-hour weigh-in, right? So your brain's
right. Yeah. Right? So you can but even then, like there's there's kind of an idea. So as you're pulling that weight down, you're still taking impact, like in training a little bit, even if you're trying not to. Like your body's just not made to run without water, right? And especially your brain, like it has an impact. You can't suck that much water out of your body and then put it back and think that it doesn't have some type of impact, like a hangover type thing,
right,
on your body, especially your brain, on just the neurons and everything. So he he's got he had definitely concussion stuff going on. He was messed up for a minute.
That's not
6 months. He was struggling, and I've got a couple other friends who kind of had something similar. But anyways, the idea of it was, hey, this dehydration thing and taking impacts and like the science between not being hydrated and the effects of concussions is directly related. And so he did a bunch of like case study stuff with a few doctors that was just, again, like how it was somehow attached to this and had any knowledge of it. It's kind of crazy, but they were talking about the same thing. Like, hey, being dehydrated is hard on your body in every way, but it's very impactful in concussions, which is obviously a buzzword in 2020. That's like the frontier of what we're trying to learn and care about, whatever. So, being dehydrated is bad on every front. Even if you don't, you're like, no, dude, I'll just tough it out and do it. Like, it messes you up.
Back in the day, that was the norm. My dad had concussion issues. This is back in the 70s. He had several. Sophomore high school, you're done. That was the 70s. They knew it was something serious, and back then it was doing football without water and all that. You know what I mean? It's like everything what you're not supposed to do, right? And he's a workhorse, but he definitely, you could tell he had some long-term impacts, and who knows, it could have been from hydration. But I mean, what positives are we getting out of being dehydrated, right? I mean, there's nothing.
Right.
So,
dude, it sucks the life out of. We were talking about this before we got started about your journey at Kent and even mine too. Like, dude, you're like, bro, I don't want to do this. Like this thing that you love, wrestling. You're like, bro, it just sucks the life out of you so fast, you know, man. The viscosity of your blood changes. You get tired walking up a set of stairs.
Oh gosh,
you know, and you're like, dude, I'm supposed to be this elite athlete, and here I am, you know, I'm tired walking up steps. You're like, dude, I want to go hang out with my girlfriend and drink water. That's what I want to do. You know, like,
simple,
give me a Mountain Dew.
A simple necessity of life. Just give me water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's so crazy, man. It really is. Concussions are a whole nother world too, man. That's
right.
You know, I just, and they're important, dude. I didn't understand those. We had in college, we had this, I call him Dr. Drew. Drew, I think of his last name, man, he's awesome. He was with like the Buffalo Bills, like an assistant AT there. Wow. And then he came down and took over Newberry. He like left there and went to Auburn. He's awesome guy. Drew Hamlin.
Okay.
And so Drew, he had us take these like baseline tests before the season. Mm-hmm. It was concussion testing, but it was kind of like this. If you haven't taken one, it's kind of like, it almost feels like an IQ test, but like it's measuring like your reaction time with the mouse and how fast you can click on stuff.
Right.
All these things, you know. And so I was like, some people on the team were like, dude, that was hard, bro. I'm like, what am I talking about? You know, like, I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Right. And even that, you know, that's not even perfect science either, because I coach, and kids are like, take it slow. That way, if you get a concussion, you can get back in. It's like, like, no, take the darn test, right? And so the doctors have relative data, right?
Well, and he kind of got us all, because he didn't tell us what it was, right?
Okay.
So we weren't like,
it was still new then, right?
At the time, it was new, so we didn't know what it was. So it was kind of the perfect experiment. So we did it, and like everybody was trying. Like, it's like we're gonna see what y'all scores are, and so we did it in study hall, and I mean it really was the perfect experiment the way he played it. And so he I don't know if he got it right by chance or intentionally or whatever, but we took the baseline test later in the season. Like, I get dinged in the head, hand fighting with Zach, CrossFit Games, man. Of course, we're like a fist fight in practice,
right?
And he was like, hey man, like he's like, take this test for me. I'm like in the training room before practice. I'm like, hey, I got to go get ready, you know.
He knew something was up.
Yeah, he's like, I want to take the test, you know. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time. I'm gonna be late. Like, I got to go. And he's like, look, dude, just take it. Like, it's fine. And so I come back. I'm like, Drew, I took your test. Like, I'll see you, bro. He's like, what? Just wait a second. Sit down with me, you know. I'm like, dude, I'm going to get killed for being late. So we look at it, the test, and dude, he showed me like on the computer the difference.
You didn't know that, right? I mean, if your bell is wrong, you don't know where you're at.
I have no idea.
Right.
It was crazy because I did try. Like, I was like, when they were doing it again, I knew what it was about, and I'm like, yeah, I've got to do good on this because I'm trying to go train. Like, we got a big tournament next week, you know?
Right.
And I wound up having to sit until I could pass the test and like repeat the thing. And it was wild, dude. That was learning about that. You know, I definitely was like, okay, there's more to this, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's going back to the science and the data. I mean, that's a whole nother,
there's such a lag, right? Like, there's a lag between how fast technology is happening.
And wrestling, especially wrestling too, right? Because we're, don't have the, football. I'm sure they have all the greatest and best stuff regarding the concussion.
Yeah, there's a bigger budget for that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
that's why I think of RTCs and the MMA gyms. I think if they find that happy medium, I don't know. There's something there, right? Share them resources, equipment. You need the same equipment. They're high level athletes, right? So they're going to need the same things, and so.
There just has to be ways to make money, and you got to find a way to put money in wrestling, and it can't be this poor man's sport all the time that we kind of pride ourselves on. Man, you don't need anything to show up, and
you're right. Everyone's asking for donations. At Fresno State right now, asking for donations. That's, I mean, obviously good, but we can't rely on donations. And
that's right.
I don't have the magic formula or strategy. But
I don't have it all solved either. You know what I mean? But like but there's a way to do it, like we're not a nonprofit. We're an LLC. And I was talking to a couple of coaches, and they're like, I went with the Cadet Greco team overseas last year. I remember sitting at the table, and Lucas Stell. I don't know if you know Lucas, man. He's awesome. He's up in Wisconsin. I was sitting at the table with him and Zach Dominguez, who runs MWC in Nebraska. They're both awesome coaches. Really good coaching buddies.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, so what do you do? And I was like, I coach wrestling. He's like, yeah, but like, you live in Alabama, and what do you do? I was like, bro, I coach wrestling. He was like, look, Luke is awesome, dude. He's a fire plug. He's like, look, dude, I do diesel mechanic work. He's like, I own my own shop, but I coach wrestling because I love this, and so I do both of them. I was like, he's like, what do you do? I'm like,
I
I
coach wrestling.
bro. and it was a funny conversation, but he was saying the same thing. He was like, dude, like if you only do that, you either work at a college, you work for a nonprofit, or like you have a day job, like you sell insurance or you own your own business or something, Right. And so, and the reason that it's that way, like that's sad. It's not like where you got to figure it out. It's sad, The only reason I still do it is because I was too stubborn to get a real job.
No, that's good though. No, that's awesome.
But we got to find a way for there to be money in wrestling, because once that happens, other things will come into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's getting those eyeballs, like I said earlier, and having the chef. I mean, really getting back to that chef thing too is, I really, tonight's that Rockfin, Nittany Lion. Obviously Kale has a lot of sway to the sport, and it's going to take someone like Rockfin or Flo or Flo kind of led the way with the media portion, but
they're definitely pioneers in that area.
Right, I mean? But the next 2.0 needs to be, okay, who's streaming these events? Because if you have all three just sharing eyeballs, right?
Yeah,
one has to take that lead. And I don't know if they partner with like I said, I don't know right or wrong, but gambling, I don't know. You got to get the fringe fan. That's a reason they put college football. People are putting money on it and they're watching it. Bro, right? March Madness. Yeah, dude, I mean, they're doing the college scene. I'm not. So if one of these streaming companies, RTC, and they start, the money lines and things like that, they get a cut or whatever. I don't know how that works. I'm sure that's but the streaming service, one of them has to take the lead and kind of jump. Be the, just like the UFC, right? You have the UFC, that's the main dog, right? And you have Bellator. So, I mean, hopefully, Rockfin is that, or whoever, Flow kind of reinvents itself. Maybe it's we got to get those eyeballs, right? And I think
it's huge, man. Like, you say gambling, and so there's only certain people who are turned off by that immediately, but like there's fantasy football, like put money on it or don't put money on it, right? But there's got to be a fan thing to that. And I'm not, the end is worth the means.
What's the other options right now? Do you want the Fresno State cut, or do you want people putting their money there instead of football? Right.
That's right. Like, dude, I have so many friends who I hardly watch NFL football because I live in the South. There's not NFL teams. Like I watch Alabama on Saturday. Like that's what I do.
So that's your team, Bama.
Yeah.
My brother's wife, they're huge Bama fans. I don't know why, but
it's a cult, dude. It's a cult.
Yeah. It's Ohio State up here, but go on.
And so, but like there's a bunch of these guys that, I mean, they don't care about, any specific team or whatever else, but like on Sunday afternoon, they're all sitting at like some sports bar, or if they're out, like they're watching on their phone and they're jumping between games because they've got a fantasy team and they've got players on these teams and they care about each one of them. So every one of them's getting viewership, right? And that idea, it puts money in the thing, right? And it creates a fan. The fan is excited now about what's going on. Right. That's got. I mean, I'm 1,000% with you on that. Like, that's not my thing to solve. Like, I'm not.
No. It's a hope.
The idea of that is real.
Right. No, it's definitely real. Like I said, it's going to take someone like Kale, or he's probably not want to be the guy either, right? He's kind of, this is my mission. But someone like him or whoever at the top kind of takes that initiative to, okay, we're gonna partner with this company. I don't know. I'm still a lot floating around up here. I don't have much hair.
There has to be innovation. There has to be innovation, and where there's dollars, or where there's a prize, right? Like if there's a carrot at the end, and I can make money doing it, somebody will figure out the best way, right? Like that's capitalism, And so if we can develop a platform for that, like Nittany Lion will figure out how to leverage Rockman. You know what I mean?
Let's hope.
That's what I'm believing in, at least, right? And so, I mean, that's such a thing, man. There's got to be on every. There's so much room. I just think what the wrestling right now is still so primitive, so archaic, and a big reason of that is because there hasn't been what we're talking about right now, like money in the sport,
Right.
In jiu-jitsu, like there's some dude who's 50 who's been making money doing jiu-jitsu for the last 25 years. Like, and it wasn't cool 25 years ago, but he was doing it. Right. And so for 25 years, he's been developing technique and training systems and protocols, and and so like.
And to get in, I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, but isn't it like a high price point to get in their tournaments? Is that kind of why there's money?
Oh,
Or?
dude, yeah, like you can't get into tournament for less than like $80.
So I mean, wrestling's like you rarely see that price tag, right?
Thing, bro. We have. So I served on the boards here and did the full circle. It was like a small group of guys running, basically run Alabama wrestling, which it's not 80 tournaments, it's 25 or something, right?
Okay.
But it's like 3 people doing all the things at one point. It's full of amazing people, but it's been this just cycle of people. There's 3 to 5 people who are crazy passionate. And they do it for 3 to 5 years, and then they're burnt out, and then 3 to 5 more come in, and so it's an ongoing thing, right? All the people who've ever been involved are awesome, and so it's no cut on any of them. But like that was something that I was kind of pushing, and I was definitely like, I was like, hey, dude, we got to raise the price point. Like you either, it's got to be more expensive to show up and wrestle. We got to, and if there's more money, then we can increase the quality of these events and have a better experience for everybody there. And it was the same idea of what we're talking about right now. But people were like, dude, there's no way. Like, it can't be more than $15 to wrestle freestyle and then $15 more to wrestle Greco. Like, that's crazy. I was like, what?
Right.
Like,
if you put it, actually, you lose. If you put on for zero. Yeah. If you put on for zero, you actually lose people because like, oh, they won't show up day of. Oh, I don't have anything invested, right? I'll register for $0 and then day of, and then as a tournament director, you're scrambling because that guy scratches, it creates more work, right? So
that's right. Yeah. It's just,
and you don't want to price it out where, people don't have the money, but that's where if you get the clubs and the RTCs to be involved, if you have the youth program going through there, they might have some funds to take care of those kids. We all know those parents that take care of the kids that don't have the money. So
that's right, dude. You know what I'm saying? And like, there's always, right? Always. There's people who need wrestling. And then like, there's wrestling needs people, and then there's people who need wrestling, right? And
right. For sure.
And like you gotta be willing to help both, and like those people are willing to help wrestling. Wrestling needs to help the people on the other end that need that help. And so it always is that way, right? You just gotta find a happy medium. But like we gotta take I know a guy, he used to always say you gotta take the cookies off the bottom shelf, right? Like the cookies on the bottom shelf, everybody's going to have them.
I never heard that. I liked it. Okay.
You got to put them up. And so get them off the bottom shelf and let people pay for the cookies. They all want the cookies. You know what I mean? And so there's something to that too, right? Like, dude, I'm all about it, man. I really love what you're doing here. Just create kind of open platform to talk about this kind of stuff, man. I mean, I could talk about different sectors of this for forever, man.
No, it's good. I could know. It's
let me know. I'll come on here and chat with you anytime, bro. Drink some coffee and chat it up.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm wanting to get you on here. What you have anything else to talk about? What kind of music you guys play in the room, or did you have an entrance song at Newberry? Or were you?
Dude, no, we didn't have an entrance song, man. We jump around. We listen to everything.
Okay.
The kids I'll play. Dude, like if they get in trouble, I'll play like Kids Bop or something. Like you listen to this stuff.
Putting on your daughter's playlist.
They'll bust on me. They'll come in early on a Sunday, and I'll have like some Christian music playing. And they're like, Coach, look, church is over. Like, so we literally listen to everything, man. They like to get on the aux as long as it's clean. Let them play it.
Nice.
Just letting it be fun. Dude, yeah, I'd love to come on here sometime and talk more about like wrestling training philosophy and
okay. No, yeah, I wanted to get into that, but obviously we had some good other conversation.
No, dude, 100%.
We'll have you back on, and because that was on my list to ask you. Okay, what obviously, you have wrestling, but you have these other mixed martial arts there. So how do you kind of implement? And we'll get into that. We'll have you back on.
We do this another time for sure, bro.
Yeah,
it's just everybody. We all got to be willing to get better. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'll say this and then kind of shut up unless you have more questions. But like, there's this idea that I call it the T chart.
Okay.
Right. And so wrestling is full of amazing people. And so you got this huge T, right? If people like who know about wrestling, when you first get into wrestling, you're below them, like on the ladder, right? And so they're always willing to help these people down here. And these people will go, man, I don't know what's going on. They'll ask questions and you kind of slowly come together. But like what happens is at some point, this person decides like they think that they're closer to you than they are. right? And so they stop asking questions. And if you try to help them, like you kind of know, hey, you're way down here still. We're not close. So you're trying to help this person, and they start giving the yes, like yeah, like I know. And you're like, you don't know yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know
you still don't have a clue. Yeah.
I thought I knew, but you don't know. And so they kind of stop asking for help. Or if you actually get like up, right, and you start to become kind of either close to them or even with them, you become a competitor. And so as you become more of a competitor and you're horizontal on the T-chart, then information stops getting shared, because there's this idea, like, and you might, still talk wrestling or whatever, but you won't give away your golden secrets, because if you do, there's this idea that they might jump you and move.
They might steal the secrets, right?
On the T-chart, yeah, like you might get better than me, and now all of a sudden I'm behind you just because I helped you,
Right.
And so I call it the T-chart, because like either if you're down here, like pride prevents you from asking questions up the ladder, right? Or if you don't care about pride, at some point it stops getting shared because this person sees you as a competitor, and it's just this idea of why information doesn't get shared and why there hasn't been innovation. And so I love what you're doing here, dude. And
thanks. No, I'm trying to learn as a coach. I'm trying to learn as a coach and kind of, meet new people and learn. But yeah, you're right. I like that analogy, because it's made me think of, it was one of the Flow documentaries on Penn State. Mike Mal was talking to Kale. He's like, "Oh, I know you guys do this in practice." And then Kale's like, "What are you talking about?" And like, Mike Mal knew, like, this is what you guys do. And Kale was like, "Man, can't let that secret out, But
so I have a kid who wrestled at Penn State a couple of years ago, Nick Weldon. He was there for like a year and a half, and he was like, "Dude, I just literally can't afford tuition here. Like I got to go." And so, but he was all the time giving me these nuggets, man. Like he was like, "Dude, this is what we're doing." Like, and I'm like, "Bro, what?" And he's like, "Listen, like you ain't me talking about this."
It's super secret
common knowledge.
Yeah, Sanderson's secrets, right?
It's like this, yeah, dude. It's the secret recipe, bro. It's like he knows something that the rest of us don't, almost, man.
Hey, well, he's teaching a lot, and hopefully that kind of secret slowly get out there, hopefully.
They'll
but
work their way out, dude. Those guys will be out doing their own thing, and it'll spread.
And and then the sport will evolve, right? Sport, and that's my thing with this. Hopefully, share a story. What you're talking about may spark. Everyone. There's new coaches every year, right? Just like anything. So hopefully we can share some stories, get to know people in the sport a little better. We'll see where it heads. I don't know. Still new to this whole thing, so any feedback, let me know. But
Absolutely, dude, this is awesome, man. It being an organic thing like it is sick, man. And you're awesome, dude. I say, I was guy put me onto, and I'm like, dude, what wrestling philosophy? I gotta check this out. Like, dude, wait a minute, this is my space, bro. And
nice.
I started following all your stuff, man. It's awesome. Cool. I know you just kind of started your thing. We just started our own journey on a couple of fronts, bro. Cool. But
well, no, we'll have to jump back on and let you tell more, because I could talk for hours on this. But so where can people find you if they don't know you?
Dude, we're on so I'm at Papa Bear Elkins on the gram, or Jake Elkins on Facebook. Our program Ironclad is at Ironclad Wrestling on Instagram and YouTube, or on Facebook. You can check us out too. We got some groups and stuff there too. But Jake Elkins, Ironclad Wrestling, whatever. Nice. Find us, dude. We'll hook up with whoever, man. Love to help some other people push the ball forward.
Yeah. Do you stay just in Alabama, or do you travel the country doing camps, or what?
No, we travel, man, for sure. Okay. Dude, we'll hit it up anywhere. I'm starting to travel a little bit with jiu-jitsu stuff too, which is a lot of fun.
That's sweet.
So I coach I'm starting to coach jiu-jitsu guys in wrestling and some MMA dudes. So that's a lot of fun. So I think I'm going to probably try to travel a bit with Brandon McCatherine. We're going to hit a little circuit and do some stuff too.
Nice.
So
cool.
Yeah, man. Bro. Hit us up. We'll definitely. Dude, if somebody's trying to get better at wrestling, or if somebody else like knows the deal, man, we'll get together and collab or whatever. Yeah. I'm all about it. I'm a junkie.
Nice. No, I'm glad we connected, man. Thanks, Coach. We'll have to have you back on soon. I appreciate it.
You're the man, dude. Appreciate your time, dude. Have a good one.
You too. If you like the show, subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast channels. If you didn't, shoot us a DM and let us know who you'd like to hear from.